Jacket or not.
Yeah, and I think all signs point to him staying with the Blue Jackets. What they did early in the weekend, picking up Matt Duchene while we were in Ottawa, it really said that this team is moving forward and this organization is going to a place they've never been before, and that's acquiring at the deadline at this kind of clip. And it's been an exciting weekend, an exciting day, and it's been fun to be a part of the center of it. You know, the Blue Jackets have really been front and center, a team that people have been talking about for some different reasons all season long, but they're a group that's confident in being and we say this all the time, one of the youngest teams in the league with no rookies, and that tells you they have experience. And last year's flop, if you will, the way they fell to the Stanley Cup champions Washington Capitals in the first round, it still lives front and center in that locker room with the group that's here. And I think that the guys in the locker room for the Blue Jackets have to be ecstatic to be a part of what Jarmo and Billy Zito and John Davidson are doing upstairs, because they're really pulling it together for this group.
Yeah, no doubt. And it might be a team with no rookies for a while because all the draft picks are gone, it seems. Jarmo's been dealing out those draft picks to get established players in this lineup, and we'll go over all of that coming up for you here in just the next couple of minutes. But let's look at some of the bigger trades around the league that have happened here over the last several days. This is one that I feel bad for the Dallas Stars. I really do. They make a trade with the New York Rangers. They get Matt Zuccarello, and in the very first game, he gets hurt. They give up a second-round pick and a third-round pick, both conditional picks, but he gets hurt, and he's going to be out for 4 weeks. So that was a major blow for the Dallas Stars. Getting a new player, you're trying to hang it. They're in a wild card spot. They're trying to stay there, and all of a sudden he's out.
And they've got two superstars in Ben and Seguin. And those guys had to be thrilled to get Matt Zuccarello, a player that is loved in New York and the market, and, of course, for the Rangers. And then, he gets a goal last night. Was that last night? And then he broke his arm. Or broke his hand. So he's out for quite some time. And that's a team that all year has been underachieving. They're right at that playoff marker. They want to get in on the right side. They're a team, when you're looking at the beginning of the season, you're thinking, wow, this team is going to be in it at the end. So they're a little bit in flux right now. They have a few minutes. I don't think they've done anything today, but maybe there's something that they're in on.
Also, some other big deals around the league. Gustav Nyquist was playing for the Detroit Red Wings yesterday when they played the San Jose Sharks. When the day was over, he had waived his no trade to go to the San Jose Sharks. The Red Wings picking up a second-round pick in 2019 and a conditional third-round pick in 2020. This is a guy that was able to pick his spot, Jody, and as you look things over, you look at the San Jose Sharks, and I know that the Blue Jackets beat them pretty handily the other night, but this is a team that's very much favored in the West.
Yeah, and for Gustav, he got to watch Joe Pavelski put on a show last night, and I guess he liked what he saw, and he moved on to San Jose. And you're right. You knew San Jose wasn't going to be quiet. They liked their team. They didn't like the way they played the other night against the Blue Jackets. I thought the Blue Jackets did a great job handling that team. But this is a team for a long time that's been in this exact conversation. Last year was Evander Kane was a big acquisition for this team. He's got skill. He's got speed. He's a corner piece there now. Joe Thornton is still there. He's a guy that's played over 1,500 National Hockey League games without a Stanley Cup. Are they going to rally around Joe? That's the thought in that locker room. And it's always interesting with the Sharks. And, of course, I think they picked up a nice skilled player. This is a player that can play in the top six. It puts a little competition in the top six, which trade deadline, and we'll talk about this too. It creates a lot of excitement in the locker room, but there's also a lot of worry as far as where do I fit in now? Because you got new guys walking in the door. It's a good problem to have, but you have to remember that there's a lot of players now that wonder where they fit in the lineup, who they're going to play with, whereas to this point in the season, they've been pretty cozy with their line mate and everything's been going pretty well. So it creates that little bit of trepidation, if you will, for some of these guys.
Well, here's another guy that the Blue Jackets were rumored to be in on with the New York Rangers, and that is Kevin Hayes, the defenseman, or the centerman, I'm sorry. Kevin Hayes ends up going to Winnipeg. In exchange, Brendan Lemieux, 2019 first-round pick, and a conditional 2022 fourth-round pick come from the Rangers to the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets are looking to bolster themselves. They feel that they can represent the Western Conference in the Stanley Cup final. So to get a good, talented centerman like Kevin Hayes, they felt it was time to go do that.
They gave up a lot, Winnipeg. That first-round pick and Brendan Lemieux. Brendan Lemieux is a piece that they were looking forward to having. Playing in their bottom six, I know, but he's a guy that's of the pedigree of the National Hockey League. His dad, Claude Lemieux, won a Stanley Cup in New Jersey. He's a competitive kid and a bright spot there, along with Roslovic. And first-round pick, you know what? You're right. Winnipeg has been in that conversation all season long. Push for the Stanley Cup, maybe even a favorite at some point this season. So these teams that are making these moves, especially like that, they understand the pieces they have to give up and the value of that first-round pick. They held on that for quite some time until just a couple hours ago, and they got a big center who was highly touted in this rental market.
Another centerman that the Blue Jackets were rumored to be in on is a former Blue Jacket, Derek Brassard. Not so long ago, he was traded from Pittsburgh to the Florida Panthers. There were a lot of people, in fact, almost everybody thought he was going to be dealt again. He was today. He was sent to the Colorado Avalanche by the Florida Panthers, and a 2020 third-round pick is what the Panthers pick up. In addition to sending Brassard there, Colorado gets a conditional sixth-round pick in 2020. So another centerman on the move throughout the league. They are the hardest players to come by, really. Good centermen in the league, and you see a couple of them have moved now.
Well, it's all the talk, right? You look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, you got Malkin and Crosby. Down the middle, you look at the other teams that have won, it's players down the middle of the ice. And of course, last year, Backstrom was one of those players for the Washington Capitals. And you know what? Derek Brassard, it's funny here. Chris McFarland is their assistant general manager in Colorado, very familiar with Brassard. He was probably one of the guys that drafted when he was here with the Blue Jackets. So there's a pick that, Derek, I'm sure, he said right away he wanted to stay in Florida and be a part of that shift, if you will. But he's going to go to a team that, again, was hot to trot for a part of the season, but is now part of that pack that's fighting to get in the playoffs and stay there.
And the Ottawa Senators, it's now being reported that Eric Brandstrom and also, who else is going in this deal? Oscar Lindbergh is going in this deal, along with the Dallas Stars' second-round pick in 2020. All of that is going to Ottawa from Vegas for Mark Stone. So, again, you knew he was going to go for a high price, 2 players and a pick for Mark Stone. The Ottawa Senators had 3 guys. You go back to last Thursday. 3 guys that they healthy scratched, that they did so they didn't get hurt, they could trade them. 2 of them go to the Blue Jackets. Third domino falls today, Mark Stone going to Vegas.
Yeah, and this guy's a big winger with intangibles. I guess he's so well loved in the room. The Ottawa Senators wanted to keep this piece because everyone in that room looks up to this guy. He's one of those guys that just brings leadership. He's got it naturally, and he brings it with his work ethic too. So, you know what? He's traded now. Will he be back in Ottawa? That conversation will start up when free agency hits. But right now, what a great pickup by the Vegas Golden Knights. You knew they weren't going to be quiet. They caught lightning in the bottle last year and went all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. They made some changes this year. A la James Neal is gone, one of those snipers that they miss. And Stone is a guy who's going to go there with a lot of energy and jump. And they got a key piece and a guy that's been front and center of all the trade conversations the past 2 weeks. So that's a big move. He hasn't played since Thursday, as you said. But he'll be fired up to get out there. And George McPhee understands that his window, what he's got going there, is right now. He's going to try to do what he did last year and maybe a little better.
Right, and with Mark Stone off the board again, Artemi Panarin was right there with Stone, 1-2, however you want to look at it. So with Stone off the board, if there are teams that didn't get him, and if they want to make a push, they're on the phone with Jarmo Kekalainen right now. For the Blue Jackets, it has got to be a perfect deal, I think.
Yeah.
They've already made their peace with what's going to happen here. They've added their pieces. But if somebody gets crazy, and if it's going to work for you right now and in the long term, it has to be considered.
Well, do you react? If you look at the West, there's only a few teams that are really at the top part of that. And we just saw San Jose last night with the deal. Now Vegas gets in on the deal. Dallas tried to make their push with Zuccarello. The regular season is a lot of back and forth, but this deadline day today is to tell your organization, your players, and your fans, we've assessed the past, even if it's this year, what we're lacking. We're in the mix at the top of our division or our conference, and we're going to push and go in. This is our window. So they know they have a great goaltender who's aging in Fleury with the Vegas Golden Knights. They know they got a guy that's won before. They're telling this group and telling their fan base they're going in on Stone. So that's really exciting, I think, for them.
Well, let's talk about the Blue Jackets now and center on what has been done here. It started on Friday when the Blue Jackets were in Ottawa and they made the trade to get Matt Duchene. This one, look, this takes a lot of people by surprise. I mean, he is the top centerman that was available. He will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. The Blue Jackets decided that it was worth paying him to get him in here. He's played 2 games now with the Blue Jackets. He says he's a two-way player, and they have given up 0 goals since he's gotten here with back-to-back shutouts over Ottawa and San Jose. But Matt Duchene comes here, and the Blue Jackets get a big piece down the middle. Vitaly Abramov, Jonathan Davidson, along with a 2019 first-round pick and a 2020 conditional pick in the first round. And that is conditional upon Matt Duchene signing a new contract to stay with the Blue Jackets beyond this year. Julius Bergman, also a defenseman, a minor league defenseman, came over in that deal from Ottawa to the Blue Jackets as well. So that was the big deal on Friday. The Blue Jackets made another big deal with the Ottawa Senators on Saturday. Right after they shut out the San Jose Sharks 4-0, they announced a second deal. Ryan Dzingel was picked up along with a 2019 7th-round pick in exchange for forward Anthony Duclair. Also, the second-round pick in 2020 and a second-round pick in 2021. We've yet to see Ryan Dzingel dress in a Blue Jackets uniform. We'll see it tomorrow night against Pittsburgh. But, Jody, there are so many things to this deal. First and foremost, Dzingel was a coveted player. He's a left winger. He's very fast. But here are the other things. He's very good friends with Matt Duchene. Yeah. He also has played on a line with Matt Duchene in Ottawa. So there's familiarity now with both of those players coming to the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, that's a very unique situation. And not very often do you have players like that available that are teammates and end up going to the same place, unless it's a blockbuster. These are 2 different trades, 2 completely separate trades. They did actually fly in last night together as Duchene had to go home and get his family and his dog. And if you see it on Twitter, it's a great picture of his dog in the seatbelt and Dzingel in the back. It's almost like he's in the luggage rack back there on the plane. But yeah, you know what? It's exciting to get guys that know each other. Both these guys are coming from a situation where it had to be a very strange season in Ottawa with these 3 big pieces in Stone, Dzingel, and Duchene being available. And an organization that was in a complete rebuild. I mean, there was things going on up there. Started with the ownership, who was going to be there, who are they going to build around. So these guys now are not only excited to know where they're going, but to go together and to be a part of an organization that's all business and ready to get things going. It's exciting.
All right, let's go over a couple of trades that the Blue Jackets made today. Most recently this afternoon, they just picked up a defenseman. We told you that they would be looking for a good, solid, stay-at-home, edgy defenseman, and they get that guy with Adam McQuaid. They get him from the New York Rangers this afternoon, just a short time ago. As a matter of fact, they pick up Adam McQuaid, and they send, 4th and a 7th round pick,
yes,
I think it is, to the New York Rangers in exchange for McQuaid. So they take care of the blue line. But it all started this morning when the Blue Jackets made a trade for a goaltender, and that may have taken some people off guard or made some people wonder where's the other shoe going to fall on this. There is no other shoe. They wanted to fortify the goaltending position, and so they made a deal with the New Jersey Devils, a 5th-round pick in 2022 to pick up Keith Kincaid and have him be a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets goaltending staff. And we have him on the phone right now. And I believe you're driving from New Jersey to Columbus right now, aren't you, Keith?
I am. I'm somewhere in the middle of PA right now.
So somewhere in the middle of nowhere, basically, if you're in the middle of Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
Hey, what was your reaction when you were told that you were leaving New Jersey and you were coming to Columbus?
Yeah, I saw Ray calling. I was literally right around the corner from Prudential Center, and I kind of knew something was up. But a lot of mixed emotions, but definitely excited to be a part of the Blue Jackets organization.
Hey, what's it been like for you, Keith? Your name's been out there a little bit at this deadline. What's the past couple of weeks been like for you in New Jersey?
Yeah, it's been an up and down year. We started out pretty good, and then kind of faltered a little bit and had some tough breaks with Halsey being out. But personally for me, I think change of scenery always helps, and I get to use what I've learned over my past few years and apply it here.
And you played behind Schneider there, who's an elite goalie, but you're here with Bobrovsky. I know goalies like to watch different goalies. Do you like Bobrovsky's game, and is there something like that you look forward to being in the same room with him, and maybe you can help him with, and he can help you?
Yeah, I always admired his ability to never give up on the play, and he makes these unbelievable saves that I can only hope to make every once in a while. So it'll be good to learn from him and watch him.
We're talking with Keith Kincaid, and new Blue Jackets goaltender. And Keith, you're going to come in here, and there already were two goalies here. Jonas Korpisalo has been backing up Sergei Bobrovsky throughout the course of the year. Jarmo Kekalainen said, look, it's going to be a three-goalie system here for the rest of the year, which means there's only two nets in practice, so there's going to have to be shared responsibilities. There will be an intercompetition. But how do you look at this, and how do you get yourself in the forefront here?
Yeah, I just got to go back to my basics, and whatever spot they need me, whether it's off ice, on ice, play a game here or there. I just want to show them what I'm capable of, and be a good teammate on and off the ice too.
Well, you showed the league what you were capable of last year when Schneider was hurt. You played extremely well. You led the Devils into the playoffs last season. How much fun was that for you to get all of that playing time and to be able to get your team into that first round and just to get the play beyond the regular season?
Oh, it was tremendous. It was once in a lifetime thing. You can only try and lead your team to the playoffs, and it's good to be back on a team fighting for playoffs and in playoffs. That time of season is the most fun time of the season. So.
Have you ever been in this situation before where there's three goalies on the ice? I know in playoffs usually that happens, but here there's still a good chunk of the regular season left.
Yeah, not really. What I've been accustomed to, but it is what it is, and I'm just happy to be a part. And like I said, whatever they need me to do, I'll be there.
Do you have any relationships with anyone on this team here in Columbus?
Yeah, I played with Cam over the summer at Worlds, and Nicky Foligno over Worlds a few years ago. Also, they're both great guys, and I got to know Bill Zito a little bit over at Worlds too. So I'm pretty excited.
Oh, that helps, right?
How many of those guys reached out to you today, Keith?
Yeah, I just got a text from Nick welcoming me, and if I needed anything, to let him know. So that's always welcoming, and I'm just excited to meet the team and the guys.
When you get to Columbus, now you've been told what your schedule is or how this works for you. You're going to get in tonight?
Yeah, I'll get in late tonight, and then I think they have optional or like a pregame skate tomorrow. So I'll just head into the rink. Obviously, going to need to get on the ice. We had off yesterday in Jersey, so and today is obviously a travel day for me. So just trying to get accustomed and learn everything real quick as I can.
That's back to the American Hockey League, maybe even the East Coast there when you're driving yourself around. But that's good. That's a good effort by you.
Yeah, I figured it would be easy to bring the car here and makes it one less of a hassle of a transition.
That's right.
Keith, I got to ask you about something, and it's about your Twitter account and your tweets. And I got to tell you, I look at your tweets, and I would get so irritated before. I'll never get irritated again while you're here. But I couldn't read them. I couldn't decode them. I couldn't go through all the different emojis that you had to get through the story of what actually happened. So do you have some kind of a decoder device? And how much time do you think it's going to take you to come up with new emojis to describe your new teammates here in Columbus?
Yeah, the emoji thing is the thing I came up with. Kind of, I copied from Didi Gregorius of the Yankees last year, and fans seem to like it. So it might take me a little to come up with something for here. So, but I'll definitely be working towards it. I think the fans get a good time out of it.
No, absolutely. I think you're right about that. I'm too old to figure it out. That's the problem with me, but I'll be honest about that. But we'll get it figured out. Well, we'll get it figured out now that you're here and you're with the Blue Jackets. Yes, Jody.
I got a question. Now, you've been watching the trade deadline, obviously. What do you think of what's been done here in Columbus the past couple of days?
Oh, I think it's incredible. Getting guys like Duchesne and Zingle, and both starting up their blue line with McQuaid. It shows the fans and the organization that they're really going for it this year.
Yeah.
Well, Keith, thanks so much for taking a couple of minutes while you're driving in the middle of Pennsylvania on your way to Columbus from New Jersey to talk with us. And you still have a couple of hours to think up those emojis. So make sure you have 4 or 5 by the time you get here.
Right.
Oh, yeah. More than a couple of hours. I'll come up with something. I think I got something for the cannon already.
Oh, good. See that? You're already thinking ahead. Keith, thanks so much. Safe travels, and look forward to meeting you tomorrow.
All right, thanks guys for having me.
All right, that's new Blue Jackets goaltender Keith Kincaid. He was dealt from the New Jersey Devils earlier this morning. Getting a report here that the Flyers are sending Wayne Simmons to Nashville pending a trade call, in which, by the way, I just saw another tweet here from, I think it was John Shannon from Sportsnet, saying that there are many calls queued up.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, because it's 3 o'clock. It's after 3 o'clock now, but as long as you were in by 3 o'clock, it'll take time for these things to process. The announcements will still keep on coming out. Jarmo Kekalainen is scheduled to have a press conference here at 3:30 this afternoon, so that's about 20 minutes away from right now. So, it's a very unique situation there for Keith Kincaid, right? Coming in and have 3 goalies.
Yeah.
And you know darn well, only one of them's happy about it, and that would be Bobrovsky, because he's the clear-cut starter. The other 2 guys, and I would think Jonas Korpisalo, and he talked a little bit this morning, and I just kind of stayed on the perimeter there, but he probably, I would think he's upset about it.
Yeah.
And now he's got to prove it. We've seen him at his best this season. We've seen him at not his best. To me, this is a great insurance policy with a guy that has experience. He's a little bit older, and he's been in the playoffs.
This guy comes in a good situation because he's a veteran netminder in the National Hockey League. Columbus is saying we need something else. We need something else with Bobrovsky. And Korpisalo is a guy that, he's worked. He's still young. He's still really young in his National Hockey League career. He's competitive. He wants to be the guy, if not the backup guy. So this creates even more push, if you will, from outside the organization. That's what would kind of surprise Korpisalo, I think, is that, and starting tomorrow in practice, there's going to be 3 goalies on the ice. So what does that mean for him? He'll be watching the relationship with Kincaid and Manny Legacy. Is he going to get the inside, push from Legacy? It's all part of it, but it's all healthy from within the Blue Jackets organization. But the competitiveness of these guys. No, Korpisalo would not be happy, and I think Kincaid, he'd be happy because he's coming to a fresh slate with something to prove.
And let's go another step. In the unfortunate incident, there would be an injury somewhere down the line. If you don't get an insurance policy, you're looking at a tandem of Jonas Korpisalo and J.F. Berube, who would come up from Cleveland. Yeah. Instead, this gives you a guy, as I said, that's been in the playoffs, who has that experience and has been a starting goaltender in this league now for a while. So you never know what's going to happen.
No.
And you and I talked about this before. With any team in this league, everybody's quick to say, the Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup. 6 more weeks remain in the regular season.
They don't hand it out in February.
Right. Yeah. Who knows what any team is going to look like 6 weeks from now? We talked about Matt Zuccarello a little bit earlier. He goes and plays 1 game, boom, 4 weeks of his season are going to be gone. It could happen to anybody.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. And there's a lot of hockey to be left even to get in the playoffs. But if Bobrovsky goes down, this is your last chance to pick anyone up. What happens if something happens this week, next week, the week after, and then you're like, I guess we should have went and got a goalie. That's what they're doing here. They're covering their bases on any situation. So you got to like it. It's very proactive.
What you got?
Bobrovsky and Panarin stay.
There you go. Well reported.
That's what you want to know what we got? That's what
Absolutely.
we got. So everyone can take a deep breath.
All right, so let's we'll talk about that in a minute, because I want to get your thoughts on Adam McQuaid, because I kind of rolled through that to get to Keith Kincaid on the phone here.
McQuaid, Kincaid, you got that?
Yeah, I got it. No problem. What do you think about this move?
I like it. It's a tough stay-at-home defenseman. He's won a Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins. He's a former Blue Jackets draft pick that was traded that way to Boston. He's a guy that plays with grit. He's fought the toughest guy in the league this year in Ryan Reeves and went toe-to-toe with him. He'll stand up for his teammates, and you know what? In the playoffs, it's hard to play against guys that are willing to do anything to win. I'm sure everyone is willing to do anything, but this guy will do anything. He chips in a little bit offensively, but he's got intangibles as far as just having a real grit to him. So, and he's from the eastern part of Canada, so that's a good thing too. Really like that about him.
Yeah, that's always a plus in your book. You did mention, though, he was a former second-round pick of the Blue Jackets, and that was back in 2005. The Blue Jackets then traded him in 2007 to the Boston Bruins for a fifth-round pick, and then the Bruins sent him to the Rangers in September of 2018. That's how he winds up in New York, and the Blue Jackets get him via the New York Rangers. So really, when you look at it, he was drafted in 2005, it only took him 14 years to get here to Columbus.
Yeah.
Where he thought, where a lot of people
won
thought
a
he might
cup.
be to begin with.
Yeah, and
right.
he's been through a lot of some different injuries. He's had concussion. He's had a concussion early in his career. I think he was out with an infection a couple of years ago. He's a guy that's got a lot of resiliency and a guy that's been around guys like Chara, Bergeron, players that, Riley Nash would be a player that he'd be excited to be around again. And these are all good things. There's a lot of, when you can find familiarity, I don't care what business you're in, it's scary going from one organization to the next. But as soon as you realize how much you're wanted, how excited the next organization is to have you, and then you get the phone call from someone you know within that says it's great here, you're going to love it, those are awesome things. So a lot of excitement with all these players and those guys that have been together. Right, it's taken them 14 years to get here, but welcome back.
Yeah, right, exactly. And on those same fronts, a guy that you can welcome back to Columbus and a guy within the organization that already knows somebody in the organization. Let's go back to talking about Matt Duchene and Ryan Dzingel because they both practiced with the Blue Jackets today. Duchene had not been able to practice. He played 2 games, 0 practices. He was on the ice in practice today. I had a chance to catch up with Matt Duchene earlier and just talk to him about the games, going home, getting his family, coming back, and about having a good friend in Ryan Dzingel now back on the same team. Matt, again, whirlwind here in the last couple of days for you. First of all, you got a chance to go home very quickly, gather your family together, and bring them back here. How important is that to you?
It's great. We're kind of in that tweener phase of, getting in and now getting settled. So I think, that's the next big thing is finding a spot. And I've got a couple of good leads and, getting a car, all that kind of stuff. I got a 6-week-old, so life's challenging when we're settled right now. So, my wife's a superstar, though. She kills it, and she allows me to kind of just focus on hockey. So, but definitely want to get her a little more comfortable. But it's been great so far.
You brought 3 kids back, as you put on Instagram yesterday. Bo, your son, you had your dog with you, and then you brought back another guy in Ryan Dzingel. First of all, how surprised were you that your former Ottawa teammate got traded here, and how happy are you too?
First of all, thrilled. He and I are very close and have built a really good relationship and have a lot of things in common. And, we sat beside each other in Ottawa in the room and played together all the time. So really excited. We knew there was a bit of a possibility right after I got dealt here that it might happen, and we were pretty excited, and we were hoping it was going to happen. So when I found out after the game the other night, I was pretty excited. I called him, and there was a lot of cheering on the phone on the other end. It was great.
And he's a tour guide for you in Columbus, too.
Absolutely, yeah. It's his old stomping ground, so it'll be good to have him, to help us out because I hadn't really seen the city too much. I only played here, as a road team, and then my wife's from Denver, but she has some family in Ohio, actually, big Ohio State fans, but she'd never been to Columbus. So, I'm excited to tour the city a little bit.
All right, last thing I want to ask you before I let you go is, how are you with rivalries? Because Pittsburgh is coming in here tomorrow. It's been kind of brewing here, and it's been kind of a one-sided rivalry where Pittsburgh has gotten the best of the Blue Jackets. The mindset maybe will change here with some different faces here. Are you looking forward to this?
I'm excited. Obviously, that's a team that we're close with in the standings, and we have a chance to distance ourselves a little bit tomorrow. And obviously, for me, you look across and you see guys like Sid and Malkin over there. You get your competitive juices going for sure, as it is. Doesn't matter who you're playing for, but to know that this is a big game for this franchise and the fans and for ourselves. And then, as you know, for Zing and I coming in as new faces, obviously there's a little bit of freshness there, which can help too. So hopefully, we can help out with that. And I love playing those rivalry games. It's the best.
So that is Matt Duchene. He's already got a goal with the Blue Jackets in the 2 games that he has played, and he's changed a lot of things around here, really, to be honest. The talent level has gone up from the moment that he stepped on the ice, and especially on the power play. And that was really evident the other night when they scored the power play goal in the final 30 seconds of the second period.
Well, yeah, there's a confidence, right? Now he's taken that number 1 center position for now with Atkinson and Panarin. And there's a confidence with the puck, and I think people feed off that confidence, especially on the power play. It's like a shiny new toy, and everyone wants to get him the puck, or everyone wants to try to see what he can do with the puck. And he immediately stepped in with confidence And that's exactly what they need. It's a veteran guy, and I think Panarin looks up to this guy. It's always been Panarin, keeping the puck or trying to find the guy open. He was looking for Duchesne the other night. He was hesitating and looking for this guy. And I think when you have superstars playing with each other, there's a certain level of respect, and you can see it in the way that Panarin plays. So it's good for Panarin too to have to be the guy. He is the guy, but now he's got not only Cam. But he's got another guy who's a sniper and a playmaker out there that he feels that in some situations he's got to get him the puck. And that's a different responsibility for Artemi.
How thrilled are you that Artemi Panarin is staying and is going to continue to play with this guy?
That's just awesome. He's the best player available. So essentially when the Blue Jackets went out and got Duchesne, he was probably number 2 or 3 as far as available players at the trade deadline. The number 1 available player, some people thought was Artemi Panarin. He wasn't available, it didn't sound like. His price was asked so high. This is the best, most complete forward this organization has ever seen. He's a game breaker that they didn't have 2 years ago when they played the Pittsburgh Penguins. They went out and got him somehow. And now I love what they're doing because they're saying, this is going to be the best year. We're going to try to make this the best year in the organization's history because we have pieces like Panarin and Bobrovsky, which we might not have after July 1st, but we have them now. So what do? You make the best out of a situation that everyone thinks is terrible. They're saying, hey, this is a great situation. Let's see what we can do with it.
And boy, how it has changed. You're right, because all year, that's what all the talk was about in the league, was the dark cloud hanging over the Blue Jackets and losing these guys.
Yeah.
They're here.
Yeah.
And it has been bolstered all the way through. So it's very, very exciting here.
Positive. I mean, that's what, and we don't know. I think the people on the outside too, and we're on the outside, you don't know what exactly is happening behind the scenes. So we'll have to get the man who knows what's happening behind the scenes to tell us everything that's going on. Jarmo Kekalainen.
There he is.
Welcome.
Blue Jackets General Manager Jarmo Kekalainen sitting down with us before he goes for his press availability. We thank you very much for that, of course. And so is the day finally over?
It's just 3 o'clock.
Right. What time did you start today, though, when you made that Kincaid trade?
That was fairly early, but it's the way it goes. Now we'll get maybe a little more rest after this, so it's good.
What's it like to be in this position as a general manager? I mean, since you got here, it's been build, find pieces, draft picks, see if they'll grow and develop. What's it like to be in your seat the past 2 weeks?
I think it's exciting. I think we have a really good team. We have a really good core in place that's going to be in place after this year as well. Now we've added some pieces to give us a good chance to compete this spring. Everybody keeps talking about the pending UFAs. Are we nervous about that? No, because we have some great young prospects coming, and we have a lot of cap space in case they decide to walk. So, it's going to be exciting. It's going to give our team a good chance to win here right now. And as I said earlier, that we wanted to send a message to the room and to our fan base that we're serious about winning, and so we made some additions, and we're going to give it the best shot we got to get to the playoffs and then make a long run.
And when you look at the players you've acquired, you have to be so proud of your staff with Billy Zito and your scouts because, everyone thinks this was a tough situation with Brad and Bob, but it seems like has this kind of been the plan all along to be like the people that add?
I think it's exciting. We have a 2-time Vezina Trophy winner in our net. He's a great goaltender, and Artemi Panarin's a superstar. We definitely don't want to give him to anybody else. We'd like to keep him as long as we can, and we're still the same way. It's been consistent right from the start that we're not going to just give him away for draft picks and futures and stuff like that. And we got him on our team now. We'll enjoy it, and we can still keep working on a lot of other things before the July 1 arrives. But like I said, we have a lot of great young prospects coming. Sure, we use some draft picks, but draft picks take a long time to materialize or mature, whatever you want to call it. We've been fortunate with the way our scouts have done their job that some of our draft picks have actually matured and materialized earlier than we'd expected, because you have to always give it some time. But Liam Foodie's on fire in the OHL. Emil Bemstrom, nobody really seems to talk about him. He's leading the Swedish League in goals as a 19-year-old. And
wow.
We checked today the top 10 names that have done it at his age in the Swedish league, and you get names like Peter Forsberg, Kent Nielsen, Marcus Naslund, Sedin. I'm not saying that he's going to be that good. That's going to be, you never want to make those kind of comparisons. Those are huge shoes to fill. But he's already done something very special at his age in the Swedish league. He's on the men's national team as a 19-year-old. He's a great goal scorer. And Alexander Texier is having a heck of a year in the Finnish league. His point per game in the last 30 games. He's dominating games there. And we couldn't be more excited about his future for the Blue Jackets. So, those guys are coming, and they're going to be here for a long time. We can use draft picks maybe a little bit later to fill some holes that get created in the next 3 to 5 years, and we'll have to find some good players in the later rounds.
The Adam McQuaid trade that you make this afternoon, how important was you to get a guy like that, a defenseman that plays with edge, stay-at-home guy, playoff type guy?
Yeah, all character. I think that he adds the edge and toughness into the back end, like you said, and he's a steady competitor who's well liked in every locker room he's been at. He's known for his character and gives it another right-handed shot. So now we got 3 on the right side with a right-handed shot, and we got 3 left-handed or 4 left-handed D on the left side. So I think it gives us good balance, and I think he'll be a lot of guys will like having him in the lineup.
The middle of the ice has always been an issue that's been talked about here, but now with Duchesne, Jenner, Dubois, Dubinsky, Wenberg, now when you look down the middle, how good do you feel about your team right there?
Very good. I think we have good depth. We can afford an injury. We can put a guy into. We can move guys. We have lots of different combinations. Torts can try to figure out what the best way to do the lines is from here on until the end, and it gives him a lot of options. So I think it's a good luxury to have, and you're going to need depth.
How thrilled were you not to have to give up any of those pieces that you just spoke of?
Well, they were non-starters for us. So whenever we were talking about trades with anybody, whether it's Duchesne or Dzingel or McQuaid, Bemstrom, Texier, Foudy, no, that was a non-starter. So any trade that would have required moving one of those guys was that was a no.
Is there as much moving pieces on this day, on trade deadline day, that we think? Is there that many phone calls behind the scenes?
Yeah, there's a lot of phone calls. I mean, but as I've said before, you sort of know who could be on the move. You've talked about this for weeks, if not months, on some players, and then it gets heated up because you know that you only have so many hours before the deadline and to make a decision or make a move if you want to do so. But you have a pretty good idea on what the other 30 teams are thinking, what they're moving, what they're thinking about moving, and who they wouldn't move.
So no big hard decisions today.
Well, we had to make a hard decision on what was the price that we wanted to pay for Adam McQuaid and Keith Kincaid. Is I think a great solid depth addition to us. We have obviously Sergei Bobrovsky as our number 1 goalie, but with one injury, then that could be a problem there if that happens, and knock on wood. But Keith Kincaid is a experienced NHL goalie who was great for New Jersey last year when they made the playoffs. Probably one of the big reasons why they did a year ago, and he's got a lot of experience in the league, and he'll be a good addition to us. But yeah, those are we were on the phone basically all day trying to figure out what the price was for Adam McQuaid, and then we finally figured it out and made the decision.
We've been talking for the last couple of days about your message to the team with the moves that you've made. What kind of messages have you gotten back from them? Have any players talked to you about just how they feel now and their level of excitement after what you've been able to do the last couple of days?
Well, I think that, not necessarily directly, but I'm getting the message that I think they're excited, and that's great to hear, because we've said all along we believe in the the core group there, and now we've added to it, and I think we've added some solid teammates as well as good players, guys that'll fit into the room and add character as well, and leadership and all those things. So that's what we're always looking for. We're not just looking for skill or a certain need or special teams or whatever the hockey need would be, but we're also looking for solid teammates and solid citizens, and I think we got that in all of these guys that we added.
How excited are you to put it all to the test tomorrow night against a pretty good division rival in Pittsburgh?
It'd be great, but let's just face it, every game is worth 2 points, and whether it's Pittsburgh or anybody else, you just got to keep an even keel for it, and we got lots of important games coming here to make the playoffs in the tight race in the East, and then we want to go deep in the playoffs after we do that.
I'm just wondering, to follow up on that, is there really a reaction amongst teams in same divisions? So if one team does one thing, does another team get anxious and say, "Oh, we have to do this," or "We have to try to overpay for this"?
I doubt it. I mean, I cannot speak on anybody else's behalf, but I don't think that's the thinking in our room, that if somebody in our division does something, then we have to react to that. I think that we know our needs, and we try to build based on that. But obviously you keep an eye on what the other teams are doing, how you're stacking up against them and all that. But mostly keep a focus on your own team.
Yeah, you did a great job, didn't you?
Yep.
Well, time will tell.
No, but
Did you guys practice that?
No, but
That's what I always say.
he always says that. But it's true. I mean, you have to be.
He knows me well now.
Yeah.
You've done a
That
good
should
job.
scare you, by the way.
We're excited to see what's happening around here. So.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Congratulations.
Yarmo, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll let you get to your press conference, but thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right. Blue Jackets General Manager Jarmo Kekalainen, as the trade part of the day comes to an end here. There are still trades that are trickling through, and trades that will be announced here for a little bit. And, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if any trades come through with the other teams in the division. Kind of quiet today in this division, actually.
Well, and there's been a shift, right? I think there's been a kind of a shift in where the Metropolitan Division is, what's available to trade. A lot of these teams have traded a lot of their picks in years past. And now the Blue Jackets, with just 2 picks available in this year's upcoming draft, which is in Vancouver. The joke is around here, are they even going to go to Vancouver?
Right.
Not on the first day.
Video conferencing on that, right?
I think they have a 3rd and 7th available still.
Yeah.
So it's great to see Jarmo. You can tell he's got some excitement, and well, nice to have him with us.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for Jody and I. Thanks for joining us on this trade edition of the Inside Edge. Right now, let's go once again to the press conference. Blue Jackets General Manager Jarmo Kekalainen addressing the media.
Change from your cell phone to a recorder after this morning.
Jarmo, did you ever get close on Panarin?
No.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of general managers have ever had a trade deadline like you have had. I don't think you have. What has this been like for you, for a GM that has prided himself on having sort of one foot in today and one foot always in tomorrow, to really, really go whole hog for this spring without really knowing what may happen with a significant number of your players?
Well, I don't necessarily agree on that. I think that we have a good foot in the future as well. We have a lot of prospects that I don't think that get the credit that they deserve, that are very close to playing in the National Hockey League. I just did an interview with our TV there about Emil Bemström. He leads the Swedish league in goal scoring. He has got 20 goals. And if you compare the names that have done that at his age, or look at the list of names that have done it in his age, you get Peter Forsberg, you get Marcus Naslund, you get Sedin, you get Kent Nielsen. And I'm not saying that he's going to be one of those guys, because I never do that, but he's done some significant things. He's had 20 goals in the Swedish league. At the age of 19, he's on the men's national team. Nobody really talks about him, but every time I talk to a general manager, that's the first guy they ask about. Or they ask about Liam Foudy, who's on fire in London. Or they ask about Alexander Texier, and it's a no every time. It's a non-starter. But we know that we're not just overrating those guys, because that's the first question they always ask is about one of those 3 guys. And they're all playing, the 2 European League players, they're all playing on the men's level now. They're basically dominating on men's level. And Liam Foudy is obviously still in junior, and who knows, maybe he's ready next year, maybe he takes another year. But those are three top-notch forward prospects. And if our pending UFAs decide to leave, we have tons of cap space. So I'm not worried about our future, and that's why we were able to do these deals with some of the futures that we put into them. You know, Ottawa got good prospects, but we still have good prospects, great prospects left. And we got some time to get back some draft picks, and most of the time the draft picks take 5 years before they're going to help you. So if we give up a 21 draft pick, you do the math, it's 2026 when they're going to make an impact on the Blue Jackets. So we still have some time to figure that out.
This is a different approach for you, though. Would you agree to that? I mean, you've never had a lot like this before.
It's not. But we've never been in this situation before where we had the luxury of having this kind of a depth on our prospect pool, and that allows it. You know, like I said, it was a no every time anybody asked for those three guys on the forward side, and you know, that gives us a luxury to move somebody outside of that. But you know, it's not. This is definitely not. A spring or deadline saying that, okay, we're all in for this spring, and then it's like, you know, we're just going to start a rebuild. That's definitely not what we're doing here. We have our core in place, and it's going to be in place no matter what happens with the UFAs. We have Seth Jones, we have Zach Werenski, we have Nick Foligno, we have Pierre-Luc Dubois. We have lots of good players. We're going to have a good team next year no matter what happens with the UFAs.
Jarmo, how much did the standings play into what you did over the past few days? I mean, if you're 10 points, 8 points out of the playoffs, would it have a different outcome today?
Obviously, that would make it different. But we are where we are, and we have a tight race coming up. And we have to make the playoffs first, and then we want to make a deep run.
Yeah, I mean, I think at every trade deadline, you say you want to help the room, and certainly you did this time. But how, beyond just doing that, how important was it to sort of change the feeling around this team, where I think the storyline around your team, whether it was in the room or not, was who were the Blue Jackets going to lose? And you come out of this trade deadline, and the news is who you've gained and how big of a threat you might be. Just how big of an attitude boost do you think all of that is to the players, to the fan base, and to your organization's reputation throughout the league?
I hope so. And I said it a couple times already that we wanted to send a message to the locker room that we believe in the group, and we wanted to strengthen it. And it's quite frankly been you guys who have been speculating all year on Panarin and Bobrovsky, not me. So you asked me a question whether we'd consider moving them, and I'm not going to say a hard no because I never do. So I'll just say that we would have moved them if it made sense for now and into the future, and it didn't. So here they are.
When it became clear that you weren't going to move them, what were your feelings? Were you kind of relieved, or that they're going to be here, or how did you feel about the fact that they didn't move?
I'm excited about our team, and that's the reason why we didn't. There was no offer that would have made sense for us now and into the future, and it was an easy decision. You don't get the luxury of having a two-time Vezina Trophy-winning goalie in your lineup very often, and as long as we can enjoy his services, it's a great luxury to have. And we have a superstar in Artemi Panarin, and now we added some important pieces into our lineup, and we're stronger because of that, and it gives us a chance to compete this spring.
Over here, just a two-parter. Are you surprised that you didn't get close with Panarin, and do you feel like the fact it took Mark Stone so long with that deal to go, did that affect anything? If that had gone earlier, do you think maybe the offers would have been better?
I have no idea. I can't speculate on what the other GMs are thinking. I'm glad that Panarin and Bobrovsky are still here because they're great players, as I said. It gives us a chance to compete, and people say that we used picks and mortgaged our future, and then if we traded Artemi Panarin for draft pick, they say they don't want to win now. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. But every year is an opportunity to compete, and I feel we have a really good team, and this gives us an opportunity to compete for Stanley Cup. We'll have a great team next year as well, no matter what happens, and I can't emphasize that enough. We might be a little bit younger or more inexperienced, but we have tons of cap room to deal with that. So whatever happens, we'll be a good team next year too, and into the near future.
On the actual trade deadline day, have you ever woken up? I don't even know if you went to bed last night. Have you ever started the day feeling more confident about the chances of this team this year?
I thought we had a good team last year. I think we have a better team this year. But I really do believe in our core group. I think we have some great pieces here. I said, again, two-time Vezina Trophy winner in our net. We have Seth Jones, who I think should belong into the conversation about Norris Trophy. We have other good D. Now we're balanced. We have 3 right-handers on right side. We have left-handed defensemen on the left side. We're well balanced. Adam McQuaid adds toughness and character into that group. A good defender. And we're very balanced with 4 lines, with deep in every position, and I think we have enough skill, we have enough scoring. I think we have some power play skill now added with Duchesne, a great face-off man. So I think we have a lot of the ingredients that you need to compete, but there's also lots of great competition on the in the East, and you all know how tight it is, and first you have to earn your way into the playoffs, and then you're going to get some of the best teams in the league against you in the first and second round and so forth. But we'll worry about that when and if that gets to be reality. First, we have to make the playoffs.
It was interesting to listen to players talk the last couple of days because the sense, at least in the room, and of course they don't get the answer all your phone calls, it just seemed like that Panarin was going to stay and Bob was going to stay. When Torch was out here a couple hours ago playing the same lineup as we did. We had San Jose, that was 3 hours ago. I'm assuming he didn't know anything at the time, but did you sense how everyone seemed to think this is going to stay as it is with these 2 guys?
These guys don't care about draft picks. That's the last thing they care about. They could care less about draft. They care about winning. And Artemi Panarin is a great player. Like I said, he's a superstar. Sergei Bobrovsky, 2-time Vezina Trophy winner. I can't keep repeating myself enough here for the importance of those guys, and I never wanted to trade them, but sometimes if somebody makes an offer you can't refuse. I keep saying the same thing. Wayne Gretzky was traded, so you're gonna always have to keep an open mind and see what's best for the franchise now and into the future. So that's why I never closed the door, but I never wanted to trade Artemi Panarin or Sergei Bobrovsky. They're great players. I love them both. They've done great things for the Blue Jackets. I'd do the same trade in a second for Artemi Panarin, knowing that there's a risk that you can't keep him through more than 2 years. I'd do it again in a second because he's a great hockey player.
How much better are you than you've ever been here? How much better is this roster?
Well, I've only been here for 6 years, so I can't. But I think this is a good team, so we'll see. At the end of the year, like I say after every trade, when somebody says good trade, I'll say time will tell.
And the expectation is?
Expectation. We want to win the Stanley Cup, but you got to make the playoffs first before you get an opportunity for that dance.
Jarmo, you never can have too much depth, but what is it about your goaltending situation that you looked at it and you wanted to make an ad there?
Oh, it's just it's one injury away of having not enough goaltending. So Kincaid gives us an experienced guy who's been in the league and is a known NHL goaltender who's probably the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons, that New Jersey made the playoffs last year, and I think had the most wins in the league after a certain date in the springtime, and I think he had 14 wins after February 1 or something, and was just on a great run last year. And New Jersey probably haven't had the best year this year, along with Keith Kincaid, but he's a proven goaltender in the National Hockey League level, and you need 3 of that type of guys in your depth chart.
The addition of Adam McQuaid, experienced guy, talk about why you decided to go that route and adding not only a experienced defenseman, but a little bit of a snarl, tough guy back there.
Yeah, I think it gives us another element. Murray's going to be out for a little bit here, and he's had a great season for us, Ryan Murray. So it leaves us with a little bit of a hole. We don't know exactly how long he's going to miss, but we felt that we needed another defenseman, and excuse me, Adam McQuaid gives us experience and character and compete, and he plays with an edge. And that's going to be important down the stretch here.
One of the guys that you wanted, I think, to have a really good bounce back year this year is Wenberg. He's kind of struggled a little bit, maybe scratch tomorrow. Where do you see him fitting in here, either short term, long term, kind of both?
Well, he's just still a young player. He's a good player. He had 60 points in this league 1 year, 59. He struggled with scoring. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders right now because he's been struggling scoring goals and has one of the lowest shooting percentages in the league, and he's gonna bounce out of it, bounce back, and he'll be a good player for us. He's smart. He does a lot of good things for us even when he's not scoring. He's on our #1 penalty killing unit, and he's a really dependable two-way center, and so I'm confident that he's going to bounce back and he's only 24 years old, so it's not like...
He could be like a post-deadline trade addition.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Remember, the chair that you sit in can be stressful. Have you ever had more fun at a trade deadline than this one?
I have fun at deadline, but I have most fun when I watch our team compete and win games, and that's the biggest enjoyment that I get in my job. So again, time will tell how it pans out here, but I'm looking forward to watching our team the rest of the way this year. That's what it's all about. That's the biggest enjoyment of my job, is watching our team, and now I think they all know that they're going to be here and they're excited, and I'm just going to be enjoying the ride.
Kind of along those lines, you've been busy the last few days trying to add whatever. Now it's done, you just watch.
Well,
is that kind of a helpless feeling?
Unfortunately, it doesn't end for me here now. We're going to set sights on other things with free agents, and we have some players playing in Europe whose season might be over soon, and then we'll see if we can bring them over here, and that could add some help too. Texier's team is close to missing the playoffs. Elvis Merzlikin's team is right on the edge of making it or not making it. So we'll see about those, and we have some other decisions to make on some free agents, college free agents. Then we're going to prepare for the draft, even if we don't have too many picks in Vancouver yet. We still have time. We still have time to work on that until June. What's the date on?
20th.
June 20th. We can get some more picks.
Jarmo, Bob and Brett handled themselves like pros. The team's leadership stayed even keel, and your coaching staff promoted sort of openness, transparency, and honesty that seemed to help. My question is, who deserves the most credit for keeping this team from allowing previous situations from being a distraction this year?
Well, I think we openly talked about that right from the start of the training camp, and we weren't going to let it be an elephant in the room, we call it, and Torts and myself, we had a meeting with the team about that. We talked about it anytime there was any question about it becoming a distraction. We brought it out in the open and communicated with the team about it, communicated with those individuals about it, and they're true pros. They've never, I don't think that their performance has ever fluctuated or whatever you want to call it because of the uncertainty. They want to have their best years. We need them to have their best years. If they want to go and test the free agency, they're going to want to have the best year of their career before that, and that helps us. That helps them, and that's their right, and we respect that. We've said that all along, that at some point in your career, a player can earn that right to be an unrestricted free agent, and you have to respect that. We've negotiated that into the CBA, and wish them the best of luck if that's what they choose to do.
And just to be clear on the goaltenders, do you carry 3 goaltenders for the foreseeable future?
Yes.
From the outside, again, looking in, there have been people that said this team is been making progress. If they could make a deep run into the playoffs, it would change it would change the perception of Columbus. Do you believe that too? That if you guys were able to make a deep run, that whether it be free agents or whoever looks differently at the Blue Jackets, having finally had some playoff success?
Yeah, I think so, but you have to ask every free agent individually about what their opinion on that is. I think winning will attract good players. I think all the good players will look forward to winning. I keep saying the same thing about the first round success, that I don't think it's as important that some people make it sound. I'd like to win 4 rounds. That's the goal. But obviously you're going to have to win the first round first and then go forward from there. But I'm not satisfied if we go 2 rounds or 3 rounds. I'd be happy if we go 4 rounds and win. That's the goal. That's the only reason why any of the 31 teams are in this league, and I don't think anybody's going to be lifting their arms up to win 1 round of playoffs and be happy about it. And I don't think we should be either. It's a good step for the organization to win 1 round, but you know, we're going to get there for sure. Whether it's this spring or next spring or whatever, we have good enough core that we can build around to make that happen, and we're giving it our best effort to make it happen this year. But again, first round victory is not the goal.